So far we looked at marker based AR and then markerless AR. In the last class we looked at how to detect a plane using our AR app. So I'll just quickly show that. So yeah, so we have an AR plane manager and AR default plane prefab. So these I explained in the previous class. Let me just run it and show what it does. So marker based AR means you have an image, it can be an image or a QR code or whatever it is. So the moment it sees that, it triggers some 3D object on top of that or whatever. So that acts as a trigger. So that acts as a marker. But markerless AR means you don't have any image or specific QR code or anything like that as the trigger. You can detect any plane. It can be floor or table or even walls, horizontal planes or vertical planes. And then once it detects, you can place objects there by clicking. So here the plane itself is not the trigger because plane is so huge it doesn't know where to place the object. So you need to say when to place the object and where to place the object. So you need to click somewhere. So in markerless AR you don't have any specific image or QR code. It is markerless. Okay. Okay, I need to start this also. Oh, I think I opened the other app. Why is it not moving? Yeah. So actually, this I will show today how to do this. In the last class, all we did was the moment we open our camera, how does it detect horizontal planes? Okay, like here it's detecting the table, the boundaries of the table, and then it is detecting the boundaries of the floor, right? As we go further, it will continue detecting that. It is too far right now. Okay, so it is detecting only horizontal planes. Fine. Okay, so it is initially detecting the parts and then merging those parts into one big whole as it understands the boundaries. Okay, so now it detected the floor and also it detected the table. Okay, so now when we click somewhere on these planes, we should be able to place an object, a 3D object or whatever it is. Okay, that's the idea. We can also change it to detect only vertical planes, only walls, or only horizontal planes, or both. I have selected only horizontal planes. Okay.
The question I think I was absent in last class. Sir, how is it doing that? Is it using any kind of edge detection algorithm? Or, I mean, the plane, how is it detecting the plane?
Yeah, it's detecting boundaries. We didn't get into the details of those things in the previous class because that will take too much time. Here we are right now focused on building an app. Okay. So this AR plane manager, this has a script that detects the plane.
Okay.
So if you are interested, you can go through the script.
I got it.
Okay.
That's what I want.
Yeah. All right. So actually, this is not the code I wanted to open. Let me open the other. Oh, it's not even this. Okay. I think I tried that in both then, huh? Okay. Let me go back to this. Yeah. So so far we saw that it is detecting the plane. So now what I said is when we click, it should be able to place an object. Now there are two things. One, it should understand when we clicked. So when did the user touch the screen? Second thing, it should understand where the user touched the screen. Okay. So only when it understands these can it place the object. You see a lot of complicated mathematics is happening here. So whatever plane it is detecting, that is being projected onto the screen. Okay. And then our touch is also being projected onto the screen. So what is happening is it sort of casts a virtual ray and it checks whether this ray intersects with that plane or not. So you can touch at many places. If you don't touch on the detected plane, it will not do anything. Only when you touch on the detected plane, it will place the object. So for that, it should understand where your touch happened and whether the touch, imagining a ray starting from that touch point, if it is intersecting the plane, only then it places the object. Okay. So all this mathematics is happening. So we will see how to first detect user's touch. Okay. Then we will see where the user touched, and then we will see how to place a 3D object. Okay. All right. So for that, so even to detect user's touch and all that, first, how do we know whether it detected or not? So it should give us some message, right, saying that okay, touch detected, and then next level is what are the coordinates of this touch. So it's better if it displays those coordinates also. Okay. So for that, so far we have been using console.log in Unity and it displays here, right, at the bottom. But every time when we are on app, we can't come to Unity. It is better if the user himself or herself sees that on the app itself. Okay. So we will add a UI to the app itself. Like earlier, we added a UI where we click button, right button or left button and the object turned. So that is a UI which we added on the app itself. So that is called canvas. So whenever you want to add some buttons, etc. to your AR app, you add an element called canvas. Okay. So right click in the hierarchy and UI canvas. Okay. And let's call this say debug UI, just in case if we are facing any errors, those will also be displayed on the canvas itself. Okay. And within this, we want some text to be displayed in between, and the text, instead of being displayed on the plain screen, we will have a white strip on top of which the text is displayed. Okay. So for that, we create a child object of this, and that is an image. Okay. So this is right now just a small square. We will make it a strip. Okay. And so we can change its properties. So we can make its width say 1000. Still we can make it larger. Okay. 10,000 may be too large. So if you really want to see how large it is, you can come to the scene view and you see how large the strip is. If I increase this width, if I make it 10,000, it's going much beyond the screen. So let's make it say 5,000. Still it's going beyond 3,000. Yeah, it's crossing a little of the screen, say 2,500. Okay, seems fine. Okay. So this strip seems fine. Now what I want to do, I want to increase its height a bit, or let me leave it like this right now, we will see that. So I want to add some text component to it. Okay, so now you right click and then in UI, so not UI, you just create an empty object. Okay, first let me close this. Let me create an empty object. Okay, let's call this text UI. Okay, and for this let's add a component called text. Fine. Now, okay, now it is not visible in the screen because the screen is only showing me the canvas. Okay, so for me to make this text visible, I need to make this text a child object of this image object, so that wherever this strip moves, this text will also move. Okay, wherever this canvas moves, this strip will move, and in turn the text will move. So all the children will move with the parent. So all I need to do is to make this a child object of image object. Okay, now, so this position is now relative to the strip. Okay, so what we want to do, we make it 0, 0, 0, and we change its color to black. Where is it? Yeah, so this color, let's just make it black. Okay, still it is not visible, which means it is not positioned in the visible view. So all we need to do is check it. Where is it? Yeah, it is visible, it should be visible. Okay, okay, yeah, it is here at the border. So let me reduce the y a bit. Let's say minus, okay, first I need to increase its size. Okay, so let's make it 0. So minus 40. Okay, it will be easier if we check here. Okay, what's happening here? Where is it? Yeah, where is the text gone? Oh, it has come here. Okay, let's say minus 150, 170. Okay, let's see if it's visible now. Okay, let's say minus 200. Okay, so now when you run the app, this default screen will be visible. So instead of test, you can also just write, we will see what to write. When we run the app, this will change. Okay, now to add this, to change this text depending on the situation. So right now this is fixed, this is hard coded. We don't want this to be hard coded. We want it to change. Like when the application starts, we want some text to be displayed, and then when the user touches the screen, we want this text to change. Okay, so we want this text to be placed in a variable, and we want that variable's value to be updated depending on some events. Okay, so for that we need to create a event graph or visual script. Okay, so right click in the hierarchy and say create empty, and just call it visual scripts. Okay, and add component and write script machine, and here in the graph property click new and create inside assets folder, create a new folder called Visual Scripts, and within this Visual Scripts you save this graph and name it tap to place. Okay, that is when you click somewhere, some 3D object will be placed there. Okay, so let's give the same name here. Detects user touch and places a 3D object. Okay. Okay, so now let's edit this graph. All right, and add an object here. So this is the variable where that text which we saw, we are giving a variable name for the text, so that we will update this variable value depending on events. Okay, so let's give a new variable name here. So let's call it debug text and press enter, and then what kind of variable this is of type text, right? And which game object this variable is handling? It is the text UI. Okay, so what is the text UI? Here in debug UI we have an image. So actually let me rename this image as say panel. Okay, so this strip is the panel, and then this whatever text we are putting here, that is the text UI game object. Okay, so this so-called game object we are storing in that variable, so that every time that variable's value is updated, that particular value, that particular text is visible on our screen. So that's what we want to do. Okay, so yeah, so we linked this. Now so we want to set this text. Okay, so add a node here, that is text set text. Okay, so the moment the application starts, we want to show some text, right? So link this with this node. All right, and drag this variable onto the screen. Okay, so let me move this a little down. Okay, so this particular variable is another input to this set text. So what is this doing? This set text, what does it do? It basically takes two inputs. Which variable should I set and to what value should I set? So I should set this particular variable, debug text variable, to some value. What is that value? Let's say application started. Okay, so the moment I open the app, instead of seeing some message like test or some arbitrary XYZ message, it will say application started. Okay, so that's what we want to see. All right, so let's test it. So it is overriding this so-called text, that is test. It is overriding it with the text that we have put in the graph, application started. So whatever you are doing with Visual Scripts, everything you can do with regular scripts, C# scripts, but most of the things you can also do with Visual Scripts. So that is easier to code. Your logic you can capture as a Visual Script. Okay. Okay. So earlier you were seeing some other text. Now you are seeing application started. Fine. And this is detecting only vertical planes because that's what I have set for this project. So we can change it. We can change vertical planes to horizontal planes. You see, it's detecting only vertical planes. Fine. So let's change this text also so that it doesn't come in 2 lines. It will come only in 1 line. And also let's change these vertical planes thing to horizontal planes. Okay. So to change the vertical planes to horizontal planes, you have to go to AR session origin and then AR plane manager. In this detection mode, change it to horizontal. But when you select horizontal, because vertical is already selected, it selects everything. So first select nothing and then select horizontal, so that it selects only horizontal planes. It detects only horizontal planes. Okay, that is one thing. And the second thing, in the debug UI, in the text UI, this horizontal overflow, instead of wrapping, just say overflow, so that it comes in 1 line. Okay, that's it. So we will not test it again. Let's make some more changes and then test. Okay, so now it is just displaying some text on the screen. Now what we want is, we want it to tell me if the user has touched the screen. When the user touches the screen, the text changes to say touch detected. Okay, so that is the first step. The second step is, where did the user touch the screen? I want those coordinates to be displayed. Okay, so that's what we want to do. So for that, let's go to this Visual Script again. Okay. So let's go to the, so let me close this. In Visual Scripts, this graph you edit. And let me move it a little up. And this touch, when should it detect? It should keep looking for the touch. So it is not on start, it is in the update function. So you can imagine these 2 nodes. This is the start function and this is the update function, right? So every frame it should keep looking for whether the user has touched or not. So whatever now we want to do, we need to do in the update function. Okay. So here you need to add another node. Input get touch. Okay, so this looks whether this input is there or not. Every frame it checks whether the user has touched or not. And this index tells us how many simultaneous touches happened. Is it 1 finger, 2 fingers, 3 fingers? So if it is 1, index changes to 1. If it is 2, index changes to 2. So number of touches is captured by this get touch. Okay. And let's copy these 2 nodes and use them here again. Okay, so now, sorry. Yeah, so now the text comes from this detection. That is, if a touch is detected, now let's change the text. Let's change the text to say touch detected. Okay, that's it. So this should work. Let's see. So initially, when the program starts, the start function is called. It just shows application started. And when it detects a touch, it updates the text to touch detected. Okay, so that's what it does. Fine. Index is 0 by default. When you touch, it will automatically update the index to number of simultaneous touches. Did you touch with 1 finger or 2 fingers or whatever it is?
can say build and run. Second time if I make any changes and type press build and run again, it runs for the whole 500 or something in Xcode it will come, right? After that what it will do is it will say duplicate symbols and linker command failed with something. Almost every AI project I'm getting the same issue.
Did you Google it? Did you check online?
Right, but it told clear derived data from Xcode. I tried everything. Did you face this issue?
I never faced this. We'll see. Okay, so now it's detecting only horizontal planes because I changed it to horizontal, right? And this application started also is coming in one line instead of two lines, okay? And yeah, so now I still didn't touch the screen. The moment I touch the screen, this text will change, okay? So I touched it and the text changed. So now it is not differentiating between different touches because any touch the text has changed. So now we will add some more nodes so that it displays the coordinates of the touch, okay?
So also after the touch is removed, this text should change, right?
Yeah, we can do that, but since now we will be but what will this text change to if touch is removed?
So that's different thing, but this should.
All that right now it is saying is some touch is detected, okay? If we want, we can, after removing the finger, we can say, okay, again change the text to maybe, yeah, that's up to us, okay? So right now, let's not worry about that. Right now, we are interested in the coordinates. So we will look at that. Okay. So let's go back to this Visual Script, edit graph. So in this now, we can get the position as a vector. So what happens is there is a node. This node takes the touch as input and gives the position of the touch as output. Position of the touch is some coordinates. So that is a vector. Since it is a plane, it is a 2D vector. Now we want to display that vector as text, right? So basically this text should change to those coordinates. Okay, I should give those coordinates as input to this text, to this node, so that they will be displayed. But these are two different data types. This is a text data type, string data type. That is vector data type. So in between, we need a converter that converts vector to string. Okay, so we will do all that now. So first, we need to move this far. Okay, and let's move this also here. And let's add a node, vector to string. Okay, let's place it in between. Let's remove this. So all you need to do is right click, it will be removed, and connect this with this, and connect this with this. Okay, so once we get touch, this vector to string will be triggered, and this vector to string will trigger this set text. Let me move this a little this side. Okay, but what about the coordinates? For that we need to add another node, that is touch get position. Okay, so wherever touch happened, that will go as input to this get position, and this will give the coordinates. So these coordinates will go as input to the vector node. So this node will convert that vector to string. Okay, so this will give the value to the text field here. Okay, so now the text field, instead of displaying some specific text, some fixed text, it will get the value from this vector to string node. So whatever value it gets, that will be the value that it displays. Okay, got it? So you are getting touch, and then you are calling vector to string. The values wherever you are touching, that is going to this node, it will get the position as a vector and send it to this node. This will convert that vector to string and send that value to the set text node. Okay, so this set text node will set this particular variable, that is the debug text variable. This debug text variable is handling which game object? The text UI game object. So that particular game object text, it will update with the value that it is getting from this vector to string node. Okay, so that is what we did, and let's see whether it will show us the value now. See if you can close the door. I don't know. Yeah. Let me close this. Okay, why is it saying build failed? Okay, so now when we touch, instead of displaying the message touch detected, it should display the coordinates. Okay, so yeah, you see it's displaying coordinates. Okay, so yeah, so that's what I wanted to show today. Tomorrow we will see how to detect whether the ray that is being cast from the position of my touch is intersecting the plane or not. Once that is done, it will place an object. Okay, so we will end with that tomorrow. Okay, so let's stop here. So let me just quickly repeat what we did. Initially, we right-clicked and added UI, canvas, and named it debug UI. Okay, so because the moment you open the app, this canvas is being displayed, the strip and the text on it. So within this, we added a child object panel, that is the strip, white strip, and under that we added a child object text UI. that is this text that goes on this white strip. Okay, and you change it accordingly, the width, height, whatever you want, you can set. So once this is created, we want this to be displayed or we want the text to change depending on the event. So we created a game object called Visual Scripts. It's an empty game object. We just named it Visual Scripts, and then we added a script machine to this, and then we clicked on graph, new graph, and stored that graph in a new folder, and then clicked on edit graph. So initially there was just this start node. All we did was we added a node called set text, and then we dragged this object from here onto this graph, and we will get this node. So for this set text, it takes two inputs. One is which variable should I set, that is this variable that we dragged from here, and second, what value should I set it to. You can type that value, or if that value is automatically being calculated from some other node, you can give that node's output as this node's input. In this case, there is no other node, we are directly giving the text value. Okay, once we did this, we ran the app, and the moment the app started, instead of displaying test, it just displayed application started. Okay, now next what we wanted to do, we want to detect the user's touch. Okay, and we just want to update the text to, instead of application started, we just wanted to change it to touch detected. Okay, and that needs to be done in every frame. In every frame, it should keep looking for the touch. So in the update function, we added this node get touch, and then we gave it as output to this node set text. For that, in the text field, we said touch detected. Okay, so that's what we did. Then when we ran the app, the moment we touch the, initially it said application started, then when we touch the screen, it said touch detected. Okay, but it is not giving us the coordinates. So for the coordinates, then we added two more nodes. That is in between, we added get position and vector to string. So the moment it detects a touch, it calls vector to string, and it should also give the value of the touch position. For that, we added another node that gets the position where you touched and gives the vector coordinates as input to this vector to string, and this converts it to a string and gives it to this set text. Okay, because set text expects a string as input, not a vector. So you have to convert that vector to string in between. So this node does that. Okay, and this calls this set text, and whatever vector is converted as string, that is given as input to this set text node, and that will be displayed as text on the screen. So that's what we did. Okay, so yeah, so next class tomorrow we will see how to detect whether it intersected the plane and how to place a 3D object. Okay.